Let me show you the balance sheet. The balance sheet actually looks good. The balance sheet is your long-term sustainability reserves. And in that regards, the balance sheet of St. Monica is rather attractive. As you can see, we have close to $2.5 million in assets. And if you'll look at that box below, you'll see a series of red numbers and a series of black numbers. What I'd like to do is I'd like to look at those a little bit more specifically and let you know what is included in that $2.5 million. The first thing is we have about $274,000 in restricted reserves. Those primarily are for our cemetery. The cemetery, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia requires that we keep a certain amount in escrow, and that is to take care of the long-term maintenance and care of the cemetery, the graves, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what that part is. The second part is what is called a sustainability reserve, approximately $155,000. That goes back to an initiative that was started by Father Trader after the school closed. The parish found itself a little short in terms of any excess cash, and then we unfortunately didn't have any kind of reserves where we were able to give any kind of a severance pay to the teachers. And then Father Trader therefore started a sustainability campaign, ran for about 5 years, and the good people of St. Monica, in addition to giving in the Sunday collection, gave a little bit extra over those 5 years. And what we did was we started to build up a little bit of a reserve fund. When I came in here, the Finance Council and I discussed what would be a good level of healthy reserves. And what we found out was a rule of thumb is usually about 50% of your yearly cost. So the cost of St. Monica for the year is usually $1 million. So what we did was we started to take money and putting it into a second fund, which is called the emergency reserve there. And if you look at those two, we've reached the $500,000 threshold. That was especially useful during COVID, when we weren't sure if we were going to be able to pay our employees, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to keep them, and until the government passed the payment protection plan, we were able to tell the good people and our staff who ministered at St. Monica that we were going to be able to pay for their salaries, we were going to be able to pay for their benefits, and for a number of months at least. And so in that regards, that foresight and that rainy day fund has certainly helped us. And because of the PPP, we did not have to dip into those reserves. The last thing there is a capital campaign. There is approximately $500,000 in that. That was from the campaign that we did a couple of years ago, and that is funds that are allocated to some projects that we have not yet completed. So when you look at those first four lines, those are more or less funds that we do not or cannot touch. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to move down to the three line items below that in the black ink and talk a little bit about that.